Hello, Heron.
Hi, Tom.
So that was a tech support special. I had to reboot. That was the only
Yeah, I
possible
know.
solution.
I just got a new cable modem a few days
Oh,
a
you
week
got the
or so.
phone plus cable modem.
I didn't. Well, I mean, I'm not even going to get a phone, but they made me take this big goddamn modem.
Uh-huh.
In any case, it's a couple times I've had to reset that.
Yeah.
The wireless just stops working.
Yes, not sure what
Twice
this was.
in maybe 3 weeks.
Not sure what this was, but it just wasn't connecting to Skype. I suspect what happened was I switched from wireless to wired. Well, I had something up, and then I quit out of it, and the network settings were all discombobulated. But here we are.
There's a great word for you.
I love that word.
Discombobulated.
Yeah.
That's a great.
It's a real word that describes its, to the fullest.
Yeah. In fact, I've been thinking of, the old, ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny.
Yes.
And there are all sorts of jokes on that. And one of them was, ontology discombobulates epistemology.
Yes.
Well, it's not a joke that everybody will appreciate.
No. But those that do will get it well. So, I've got actually more topics than I've had in recent weeks, plus we've got a bunch of listener-submitted topics, and I hear that you have a full glass, so let's get at it. So, should we start with Marie Camacho, or should we end with Marie Camacho?
It's your game, man.
I'm feeling we need to end with Marie Camacho this evening. So I'll tell you a little bit of the story, and I'll throw a photo image in the feed. How should I even approach this? So, well, let me pass the image to you, and we can talk about it. Actually, it's a series of images. I should warn you, it's actually quite disturbing, so you might find it disturbing.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, let me tell you the story.
Yeah.
So I got a friend.
Should I be looking at these while you're talking, or should I hold off?
Hold off. Let's hold off.
Okay.
So I had a friend request from a fellow last night, actually, relatively late last night. And I clicked on his link, and he's some guy in the UK who likes model rail radio, and I get these periodically, maybe twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, I get these very long, kind of sharing slightly too much emails from fans of model rail radio that just need to reach out and tell me how much they love the show, how much the show has changed their life.
That's great. That's great.
Which I'm a kind of shucks guy, but after I've read like 4 pages of the intimate details of going to
that could get old fast. Yeah,
so I thought, okay,
one paragraph is enough.
One paragraph is never enough, Heron. So, getting to this fellow's Facebook page, I scrolled down a bit, and actually, let me see if I can find the exact photo that I saw from the link that I sent you, because there's a particular photo that was in his Facebook feed from this site. I'm sorry.
This guy is the guy who's responsible for all this mayhem.
No, he's not, actually.
Oh, okay, good.
It was an anti-site associated with how absolutely disgusting. Yes, this is the photo now. Actually, I can't get you. No, it's not that one. There's a photo. Anyway, let me describe this site.
Damn this age of miracles.
This is a site for $10,000 where you can go to Africa and kill yourself.
And slaughter some
animals. And the photo on the fellas
$10,000, huh?
$10,000 a person, which I think accounts for. Yes, no, it's the photo.
And that's for how long? Is that
I'm not sure.
5 days or 10 animals? Or
no, it's one large animal. You pay per large animal.
Okay.
There's a photograph which is 15 of 20 on the first page. It's a photograph of a family of, I think, maybe a father, a mother, and 3 kids. Around an elephant.
Yeah, I see.
That they've
dead
just
elephant.
slaughtered.
Isn't that sweet?
And the thing that strikes me about the elephant, in fact, there's another photo of an elephant similarly, is in both photos the elephants have been eating at the time that they're killed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so they were standing. Yeah.
Which makes me think that this is actually like a fake hunting trip where you go, they push out this poor elephant, it eats its last mouthful, and then it's shot.
Yeah, it's probably in a pen.
Yes, so they just
walk up to it and shoot it.
Yeah,
there you go, pal.
It really offended me.
We got a long way to go on this planet.
To the core. Particularly because the hunters are all like, it's like these horror movies, which you see, and they're typically centered the present day, where people hunt other people. And then they have photographs around
that makes sense. That could be kind of fun. But this is pathetic. Yeah, I agree.
It's just the worn out old lions that are really like old lions with mangy manes that they have just shot. And you just think, is this what it's all about? Now, when I was in Vegas, one of my co-workers was a fellow who had moved with a group of people, I think I've told you about him, from Ethiopia to, I think, Kenya, then out to the US. He was able to get out, but he walked by foot from Ethiopia to Kenya. I'm not sure how far that is, but it seems like quite a distance.
And he only had 1 foot.
No, by foot. No. Not that he had 1 foot.
Oh, okay. All right.
But he said in the evenings you could hear the lions roaring. And they moved in a group. I guess they had some protection, probably some firearms, I'm not sure. But they moved about 15 of them on foot through through the wilderness, basically, with these creatures around them. I don't know. I saw this at probably about 10:30 at night, and I couldn't get to sleep with these images. They just really disgusted me to some really primary level. To the point where, when I woke up in the morning, I had resolved that the only way I could do anything about this was to investigate and support some refuge somewhere, even if not by effort alone. Because it appears just to be, as you say, a bunch of elephants in a pen that are then pushed out, shot, photographed.
See, what we ought to do is find those people and kill them.
Well, that's what was advocated on this fellow's page. I mean, they
right. You just put them and have a hunting game for them.
Yeah. And
that might put a dent in their business.
The thing that struck me about this was in parallel to the business in Washington. I'll explain a little bit about the connection. Again, another Model Rail Radio connection. One of our regular contributors on Model Rail Radio actually works in the building where the shooting took place in Washington. And
that shipyard thing, you mean?
Yeah, it's actually just Navy offices. It's not a shipyard. It's just offices that are used by the Navy on the
for the ship. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyway,
it used to be.
It's not even near the water?
I think it is near the water. I'm not sure.
So it's just some office buildings down at the shore.
It's some office buildings, I think. Anyway. So it occurred to me through that experience how numbed I'm getting to these shootings that go on. And it struck me in kind of contrast to these photographs of dead lions and elephants and, the lioness in particular really I found quite disturbing. A lion gets killed, the cubs still survive. But if the cubs are alive and the lioness is killed, these are not, there's not survival for the offspring. And no, I just found, it struck me that I was visually quite upset. And then the same evening, yesterday evening, I was on YouTube and I'd stumbled across some footage of a massacre of Iranians that had moved into Iraq. This is a contemporary massacre. I think it's happened within the past few weeks. It's funny, actually, that YouTube has this policy where they're perfectly fine to show any kind of massacre, any kind of human death. I mean, what was the woman's name? Neda or whatever, who was killed in Iran with a sniper through the neck. That on YouTube, absolutely fine. But the terms and conditions associated with folks in this country occurring like that, I'm not sure, actually. Maybe YouTube's just completely dropped its previous standards.
I think they've changed a lot. There used to be, there's a lot more sexual stuff on there, surprisingly sexual. I mean, before you couldn't find that stuff there. And gory stuff and everything. They seem to be wide open.
Yeah,
I'm a little surprised. And same with Google imagery.
Yeah, I think Google image search and these kind of things they've always been an element to them where, they've not had, they've had the kind of uncensored turn off office security kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, I think the thing that struck me about seeing these photographs of these dead animals, and part of it is, as you say, the juxtaposition of the smiling, happy American family.
It's perfect. I mean, it couldn't get any more ironic.
It really couldn't. That's the thing.
There's nothing you could do to satirize that.
That this is like the best family holiday ever.
Yeah.
Like killing an
Really,
elephant.
how could you possibly satirize something like that? It's beyond that.
It's Crumb. It's Crumb in reality. Robert Crumb could create a cartoon that was...
Well, yeah, like I said, there's it's time to wake up. This shit ain't gonna hack it. That mentality is not uncommon. Most people just can't afford it.
That's the thing that struck me. The thing that
I've heard people laughing. I've overheard conversations between two guys in a Starbucks one. Two guys who looked, more or less normal, talking about running over cats.
Yeah.
When they see one in the road, most of the time they don't because the cats are too quick, but they always try.
Yeah.
And they're talking about a couple they did get, and they thought it was just, they just were sitting there talking about it like, yeah, cool.
Yes.
What can you think about that?
This is interesting, actually, because I've started to wonder whether and this, I guess, a series of questions have kind of flown past these, this is like an introductory discussion, folks, to the entire recording. But yeah, I've just started to wonder if I'm so completely numb to humans.
Yeah.
That,
well, I blame humans themselves for the most part. The animals are our victims, pure and simple.
Yeah.
Most people, obviously people who are starving to death in Somalia and shit is one thing, but living in a society, well, it's not about blame. Yeah, it's not about that either. It's just the way it is. That's where this species has evolved.
That's
so
what
far.
hung with me, that you can't attribute blame in these circumstances.
No.
Because, as you say, and it's interesting actually, because the whole notion of responsibility here and the responsible burden in these circumstances. Truth be told, when I was in the UK, we went to a stately home. And in fact, it really, I think, irked both of us when we went into my wife and I, when we went into this place. What they used to do in the UK, I've given you this description, is that they would have these things, for husbands and wives, where you would go to an event and there would be like medieval sword fighting or radio-controlled planes or a beer garden. Or
that must be for the men, right?
That's for the men.
Oh, okay,
and then there was like cloth crafts and all this kind of stuff for the women. It was done perfectly. It was an amazing... We went to this one place...
And you couldn't go to one of the other ones, right? Was that one of the rules? That if you wanted to do cloth craft?
No.
Okay, all right.
To be fair...
okay.
The good husbands and the good wives would exchange parts.
Okay, well, that's cool then. All right.
But I remember going to one of these things that my wife really wanted to go to, and I spent an entire day watching aerobatic maneuvers of radio-controlled planes. And we both went home saying, this is the best outing we've ever had. Anyway, one of these events, which was sword fighting for the men, so I watched all these kind of chubby guys reenact sword fighting quite humorously. And my wife went in to do clockwise. After about 45 minutes, the men got tired. And I thought, I'll go and find
them. All out of breath.
They were out of breath. They were puffed. Yeah. So anyway, I thought, okay.
Damn, swords are heavy.
The plastic swords. Anyway, I'll go in and see where my wife is, And went into this hall that was filled with African animals, all busted on the side of the walls,
Yeah.
Just and things that were extinct now. as well.
Yeah, okay, yeah. This is quite a collection.
And it really
collection.
chilled me to the core to have these critters looking down at me. But the big ones, like the bison and the, huge...
Oh, that's amazing. You just brought back a memory from my early childhood. My aunt and uncle owned a cabin.
You mentioned this.
And for every summer up until I was like 17 or 18, we spent like 2-3 weeks a year up there in the summer. And the cabin itself, I mean, it wasn't a cabin. Well, it was made of like 3-foot thick stones.
Yes.
It had 4 bedrooms. I mean, it was old, ancient. But anyway, over the fireplace, it had this huge bison head. and I was a kid, a little baby when I first, was crawling around the floor in there. And there were elks and deer and stuff around, but
yes.
I haven't thought about that in a long time. But yeah, that big, huge bison head is pretty imposing.
Yes. It is funny, actually, because I feel slightly different about herbivores versus carnivores. There is some distinction that I have, although obviously elephants, I guess, are herbivores, fundamentally.
Yeah, well, they're not going to eat you.
Yes.
That's a pretty important distinction, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's... Yeah. But anyway, for folks wanting to see this themselves, the site is Africa Big, the number 5. So Africa Big, the number 5, all together, .co.za, which I guess is Zambia, perhaps. So yeah, Africa Big 5, the number 5, .co.za. Tell them Heron and Tom sent you. It really is very
don't
surreal. Yeah. Because I think the thing that struck me more than anything...
Are there other... Have you looked around the site to see what else is here? I mean, that shows their operation.
There's the Hunt for Christ is on the site. If you want, like, multiple layers...
For Christ?
If you want multiple layers of irony...
I was wrong. It is possible to... Well, now it's not. I mean, I hadn't thought of that angle to satirize it, but they've managed to do it themselves.
Yeah.
That's great. Thorough job.
Yes.
These people are deeply under the spell.
Seriously, it's interesting, actually, because they walk amongst us, Sarah.
And these aren't Americans. Well, yeah. Well, these people are just rich Europeans. They could be Americans.
I think they might actually be. I think they might actually be Americans.
I mean, the people who are running the site, or
the people that are running the whole thing. I think they bought a chunk of land.
Oh, okay.
And it is pretty heavily pitched. I mean, it's in US dollars. They don't put it in euros or pounds.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I think it is actually. And truth be told, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe amongst the aristocracy, although the aristocracy pay 50,000 plus pounds for these kind of experiences. So I think it is marketed to wealthy Americans.
Sure, yeah. See, there's a market for... Shit, see, I'm really missing out on it. There's got to be a market for Gendo. If there's a market for this shit.
Yeah.
You'd think there'd be a market for Gendo.
Yeah. And I should actually warn the listeners, I found this site genuinely disturbing. There are images on this site. Imagine, I probably should just say to people, imagine a smiling, happy American family with a dead elephant in front of them, and this is what we've been talking about, or a lion propped up on a mound, a clearly dead lion. This is the kind of stuff.
A clearly old, weak, sick, old lion.
Yes. I mean, yeah, the kind that should probably be bustled off, has no teeth, these kind of things. Yeah, it really is quite an extraordinary and quite a disturbing sight. It really is almost...
I find the people far more disturbing than dead animals.
Because you can look into their faces and think they walk amongst us.
Well, the animals, it's, they're going to die. Everybody's going to die. These died. But I mean, surely it's a screwed up situation, but those people are fucking scary. That's,
will they come back in planes, Heron?
God.
Anyway, I thought that would be a good way to start this recording, to bring it as low as humanly possible.
Well, listen, I've watched all of the beheading videos.
Yes.
Or many of them anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's valuable, actually.
I found it valuable until my mother went to that part of the world and stayed there for 3 years.
Yeah. Well,
that's where it lost its value very rapidly.
Well, it's just good to actually. I mean, it's still not. I mean, it's still so removed to watch a video on the internet.
Yeah, particularly
what it's like to be there.
All the chanting and music and all the other stuff.
Well, all of it. It's just that I think, I don't know, it does bring it home, about the reality of the planet we're living on. And I think it's real easy for people to sip their lattes and just not think about it, not realize the kinds of horrible things that are going on in the world, often not unrelated to things our government's doing.
Yes.
And, so, yeah, I think people should see that stuff. I think they should see this stuff. They should see what the fuck is going on this planet.
Yes.
Don't just sit around and watch Dancing with the Stars.
Yes.
Or play with your little railroads. Except that this came to us through one of the railroader people.
Yes. So. And he's against this stuff. So
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying is I threw that in purposefully because we talked about this last time.
Yes.
About my attitude towards.
The interesting thing I find about the beheading videos, the more disturbing beheading videos I've watched have been of Russian conscripts through either the Chechen conflict or because they are, I mean, true, what's the Berg fellow, the 20-year-old guy who went over there was relatively young, but you look into the eyes of these Russian conscripts and they're just
they look like you and me.
They're sent there to die. They are not making any profit. They're not doing anything. They've just been sent to guard this useless piece of land, and they're completely taken over by these armed bearded dudes who take immense pleasure in slowly killing them.
Yeah.
And you just think,
Well, like I say, this is Earth, 2013, and we have some work to do.
Yes. I think we talked previously, or we've talked historically about how
or hysterically.
Well, potentially so. How your targeted demographic, and to a lesser extent, now you and I are talking, my targeted demographic, is the NRA demographic. Young 20-somethings, not university educated, angry at the world and looking for some definition. And I guess maybe, well, it must have been more, it was...
Well, that's one market. I mean,
I think
that's a market. It's a damn good market.
It's
and
a good,
important.
No, but these seem to be the people that have a large demographic.
They're looking for something to happen.
Exactly.
So, and they're not happy with the way things are.
Yes.
And they're pissed about it.
Yeah, and they've got some amazing stories to tell as well. I mean, I think the narrative and clear intellectual potential contribution of these folk is relatively strong. I mean, it's the thing that strikes me. And I would typically, I don't know, I mean, I started with a group of about 100 of these folk, which I just basically selected at random.
Well, at random from what source?
Searching various word terms and looking
on Facebook, you mean?
On YouTube.
Just on YouTube, okay.
Because I'm interested in a kind of collective narrative, using YouTube as a complete replacement for other media, and using the collective narrative and update elements. And basically,
it's a great research tool.
I think YouTube actually functions in some regard as a kind of confessional interface. I mean, we've got obviously the guy who
it serves as a million different things. Yeah, that's the thing is it can be anything, and people are beginning to find out just what that is.
Yeah. So progressively, I've heard this 100 down associated with folks who are talking about language, intellectual ideas, a general reaction against
and these are people in their early 20s.
These are young men in their early 20s.
Okay.
Very large number of YouTube accounts relate to this, and those that don't produce regular YouTube clips have also dropped.
And these people are on a weekly schedule putting stuff up?
Some of them are putting up nearly daily videos.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean,
and what are they, just talking heads?
Typically, yes. I mean, sometimes they will show things that are important to them.
Yeah.
But yeah, typically it's just
I just know why does that make such a, why do people need a fucking face in front of them? Why couldn't it just be audio?
Well, the thing is that they are using it to actually form social networks amongst disaffected young men.
Yeah.
And the face component and the fact that they're kind of talking to each other. So anyway, having lurked in the shadows for about a year with this one guy, he told 2 stories recently that I found absolutely fascinating. And I thought, okay, I need to emerge. I commented on one of his clips, I don't know, a month ago, that the price of gold had actually gone down. He recorded a long clip associated with the price of gold. But so I commented on that, but I decided actually last night that I'd send him a message and I'd point him to what we're doing here. And I'd also comment on the 2 stories that he told recently. One of the stories, well, actually, like, the 2 fit together. Basically, this is a young kind of, his father's white, his mother's Filipino.
Is he American?
He's American.
Okay.
Living just somewhere in Missouri in like a 6,000 person town. And he went to a school where basically he was constantly picked on.
And how old is he?
He's now 22.
Okay, yeah, and he's picked on because he's different.
Well, he's Asian, yeah. He's in a predominantly, racially defined, segregated area.
Right. A bunch of Christian, inbred banjo players.
Exactly. Well, now meth heads, but anyway. And he'd constantly been picked on in particular by the jocks in the school, who had really singled him out to the point where he was literally eating lunch against a wall facing the wall. And one of the jocks came past him and either spat on him or did something like really offensive. And he turned round and socked the guy. He cold-cocked him and knocked him out. And he was expelled from school because of this. He had been to the teacher.
Yeah, he's ripe for us, man.
He'd been to the school. It goes on. There's another story following this. Anyway, so he's an intellectual person. He's an intellectual entity. But he's been thrown out of the education system. So,
lucky him.
Let me continue with the story. So he's
learning his lessons early. See, he's going to be happy about this in another 20 years.
You may not know this phenomenon. I didn't know about it, and I've read about it since. It seems to be a predominantly East Coast phenomenon. But there's this thing called Job Corps that was created by the Johnson administration, associated with getting young people into, like, skilled labor, basically. Mm-hmm. So there are a wide variety of programs that they offer, including...
And this is an ongoing project right now?
Yeah, this has been going on for, I don't know, since Johnson.
Years. Yeah, okay.
And what they do is, I don't know whether it's a year or 2 years, but basically they take kids like this fellow and they give them a profession.
Awesome. All right.
And they pay for them to go through this process. So he went to Job Corps for a year, and just before he left Job Corps, they have to leave their homes in order to go there. It's like boarding school. Yeah, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's
he
like that's perfect.
He told this story. In fact, there's an additional story, but I'll tell this one first. He tells the story of going from Job Corps to, I think it was Indianapolis. So the Job Corps is away from Indianapolis, but they can get bused, or they can get a Greyhound bus to Indianapolis. So he and his 2 buddies go to Indianapolis every weekend just to, hang out. And I can't remember what he said, but he basically had this description of him and his buddies, and you can just see them kind of slacking off and, what have you. Anyway, he said one weekend they had to go back to the Greyhound bus station, and because they thought that they were going to miss their bus, they went down a particularly sketchy alleyway to try and get a shortcut to the bus. And there were these 3 guys waiting for them in the alleyway. There were 3 of them, and there were 3 guys. And the fellow who's giving the narration was in the central guy of his 2 other friends. And the central aggressor pulls out a gun and points it at his head and says, "Kneel down and give me your wallet," which he does.
Oh, man.
And then he points, he's obviously gesturing to the guy's friends as well. And the first guy doesn't get on his knees, but he hands him his wallet. And the other guy, who he talked about in other videos, is basically like just the super nerd guy. He's been saving all his Job Corps money because they get a Job Corps allowance. And he's gone and bought some video games in Indianapolis. and he's clutching these video games like his prized possession to his chest. And this guy, the narrator, is on his knees on the ground with a gun pointed to his head. He looks over and he sees a brick nearby. And when the other guy's flunky is trying to grab the bag with the video games and the guy with the gun is turned towards the guy with the video games, he again starts clocking this guy with the brick and basically smashes the guy's jaw and knocks him out. I mean, he thinks he's killed the guy with the gun. And he reaches into the guy with the gun's pocket because he's got his wallet, the guy's wallet that the fellow's stolen in his pocket. And he pulls out not only his wallet, but also the guy who he's, hit with a brick a few times, his wallet. And he just keeps on walking, and the flunkies with the guy with the gun are basically just disappear at this point, and his friends follow him out. And he tells the story that he thought that he'd killed the guy, but basically, when he left Job Corps 3 weeks later, he went through the same bus station that he was going to, and he saw a guy off in the corner that he recognized because he had this huge dent in his jaw. He had to seek any medical attention. Another part of the story is that he opens up the guy's wallet and actually finds his ID and like $300 as he's traveling back to Job Corps on the bus. So, he's had these kind of experiences in his life. And then, of course, because the only option that was available to him that his older brother has also done is going in the military. But this guy, because he just seems to have this luck, which seems to go through this whole narration, manages to break both his feet in basic training. So he can't even do the military. He's had this thing at school. He's actually gotten out of Job Corps, aside from this incident in the alleyway, relatively okay. And he can't get into the military because basically he's got busted up feet. So he comes back to his hometown and works as a security guard 2 days a week until he's fired because one of the other security guards accuses him of bringing a gun onto the site. Even though he didn't carry a gun on the site, they maintain security in this part of Indiana or wherever they are in Missouri, unarmed, surrounded by these kind of crack houses as it's described. Anyway, this fellow, he has an amazing kind of captive narrative element.
I wonder if it's true.
But this is the thing that interests me about it. The elements of his description, and also he has various mannerisms about him, which indicate that he has had some trauma in his life. Yeah. And I think the thing that strikes me about it is it's a very compelling narrative. My wife thinks I'm nuts. I mean, sorry, I'm not allowed to say that anymore. This person who I live with thinks someone thinks I'm nuts.
There are people in the world, at least one.
Yes. Anyway, and it strikes me particularly strongly that this kid just reminds me of people I knew in Australia. This is the classic narrative of being unable to escape, of not actually, I mean, obviously he has some self-motivation. Obviously he's following some path.
Is he still in that town?
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I hope he's listening. I hope you're listening to this, because if you are, get the fuck out of there. Go anywhere. Any big city, suffer, live in a trash can behind the supermarket for 6 months. Anything. Get the fuck out of there.
Yes. Go west, young man. Go west.
Or east or north or south. Man. Just to a big city.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because the big cities he's gone to and he's had these experiences. But
there's just a lot of possibilities there. That's all. They suck too. You're going to get the same shit there that you get here. But at least, there's variety and there's opportunities.
Yeah. So he records these videos from his parents' house. He's now 22. And I guess he's unemployed. I mean, this is his.
Shit. Yeah.
So anyway, I sent him an email. I sent him a message on Facebook just saying I really enjoyed, and I gave the bullying narrative and also and I said, I really like these stories. And he has like a PayPal link to donate to him. And I said, and your PayPal link is broken. So the only thing he sent me back was the actual improved PayPal link that I could donate through.
Yeah.
And he said, I'll take a look associated with donate. Yeah. So I clicked through and gave the guy $40, and I just thought,
Well, that'll get his attention.
Yeah, that should get his attention, and
Yeah.
it should motivate
Yeah.
a series of actions, hopefully.
Well, we'll see. And if not, then that'll tell you something too. I mean, either way, it's a $40 experiment.
Yes. Yes. So, anyway,
that reminds me, I've got a podcast that, is never, I don't know. I mean, I know it's recorded and I know it's in my not in my backlog, but in my very early Skype days.
Yes.
I've still got like almost I don't remember now, what is it, 1,000 or 2,000 recordings from my Skype days that I have never edited. I don't know even what's in there, but I know a lot of it's good. And one of them was, I might have talked about this before. If I did, I'll stop.
The guy who thought he didn't know if he'd killed someone, he was like a hitman or like a gang member.
Well, the guy who was brought up, raised in a crack house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all he's ever known. And now, and the stories that he told me were just, but it just leaves you dumbfounded. There's just nothing really to be said. It's just, shit.
Yeah. So, my combing of YouTube to try to find these kind of characters and just get a sense of the
if we could get them all united somehow.
Yeah.
In doing something positive.
Yeah, coherent. I mean,
Yeah. You're right. That's an awesome target audience.
Yeah, there's a lot of unfocused rage.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and this, I think, again, we're moving towards Marie Camacho's question, but again, this just seems to be absolutely vacuumed, like superpower, Hoover vacuumed up by the military. The military's ability, I mean, although they missed this kid, but the military's ability to get disenchanted youth in the middle of these just horrible...
Do you think that's... that's interesting. I'm sure someone has done a good sociological study of the people who join the military.
Yeah.
Are you referring to stuff you've read about that, or? Well, I mean, because I'm not sure. I mean, that's really an interesting question. Who the fuck would join the army?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it was clear when I did. It was, just, but if you don't have to.
So I heard an intellectual, an academic, who, funnily enough, lost his son in Iraq, or his son was killed in Iraq. Let's not even use metaphors.
Yeah, really. He lost him.
And he was a Vietnam vet as well, and he was appearing on this particular recording describing how through his kind of intellectual life he'd moved back to this view that the US should return to conscription.
Uh-huh.
That basically the US has always been made up of the citizen and soldier, and now that we have a private army,
that's a good argument.
Changed the culture.
Yeah, that's a reasonable argument.
I think this argument is so profoundly wrong.
Really?
Yes.
I see a draft as an essential part of Geotopia.
No.
Absolutely. Nobody escapes it.
No.
But it's not an army, though. It's not an army.
The problem here is, and this I think is Peter Stempel's point. Maybe Mott's, maybe someone else. Anyway, we'll get to the listener questions in a minute. I prefer Terence McKenna's view, which I think is considerably more historically accurate, that the way that you deal with militarism is through defeat and through actually cognitively understanding, which amazingly in the past 30-odd years with Vietnam in particular has been completely lost in this country, or was there for periods of time. I mean, Oliver Stone and various filmmakers kind of went through the process. But Terence McKenna describes what happened in Germany and Japan associated with completely working against militarism.
But the problem is deeper than that. That's the thing. The problem that you're talking about is the same problem with those people in the Lions. It's all the same problem. You try to solve one of them and maybe you can do something about it, but it's not going to get to the core. It's this underlying, it's really simple. Identification with the story.
Well, no, Heron, I'm not sure if you've ever spent any time in Germany, but I've actually...
You can be sure I haven't.
Well, I have. I got off the plane in Germany with probably at least 40 years worth of emotional baggage from my father and his family. The notion of Germany as being the country that killed my relations, that did a wide variety of disturbing and barbaric
No, a country
things.
didn't do it.
Let me
People
finish
did it.
that. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So I stepped off the plane into Germany. The first thing that hit me, and Mott's, we're simpatico, the story ends well, so the first thing that hit me was the fact that the Germans are considerably taller than Brits and Americans typically are. And the second thing that caught me was the organized aspect of the country. The first two things that I was visually sensitive to was having seen both in Stormtrooper, i.e. World War I, trench fighting garb, but also in full leather uniforms as I would go in the War Memorial and see mannequins that were larger, taller, the super race, basically.
Yeah.
And you have not imagined, my wife did this experiment on me. This person, sorry.
I'm really confused about what the hell we're talking about now.
What we're talking about here is prior to going to Germany, my experience of what Germany was in terms of the historical legacy of my family's experience, the Second World War, these kind of things.
Yeah.
I'm giving you it's a long-form conversation here.
Well, no, I know. I'm just confused about how this relates,
Let me finish.
No, I think that, okay.
The notion of militarism in a country with people where they're bigger, more organized, probably far better educated and well-trained is something that was part of my cultural legacy. I'm relatively ashamed to say. I have never felt more at home and at peace than the time that I've spent in Germany. Talking to men who were of the military service age for the Second World War on the train, who probably could have even been in the SS for all I know, feeling at complete peace, walking through Berlin, encountering people who were so warm and interesting and multifaceted. The kind of humanity that I felt in Germany made me realize that something had gone profoundly wrong, both with me but also with history. My view is that if a country can move so strongly against militarism, against this psychology of the military-industrial complex, as was witnessed in Germany, we have a lot to learn from these things, Heron. And to say that because of the country that we live in and what we experience in the US and all the nonsense and baggage that comes with that means that it's impossible in our lifetime for a state to reject this baggage and move on to a better place ignores my experience of Germany.
And that's exactly why I was asking you, because I don't recall ever saying anything like that.
Well, what you described initially was that the narrative that I was providing, which is Terence McKenna's particular analysis of Germany, but nonetheless, the narrative that I was providing wouldn't work out because
no, I didn't say it wouldn't work.
Part of the problem. That basically the element of what I was describing was part of the problem. This related to a bunch of Americans shooting lions in Africa. Okay. And I just wanted to make the point very strongly that I actually think there is a tangible and experiential solution to the psychology of militarism in this country. And
I would not disagree with that.
Yes. And I think our mutual buddy, Terence McKenna, actually shines some light on this.
Well, like I said, I have no problem with that. It's just that even if we did solve that problem, we wouldn't have solved, that would be better. I agree with you. If we could do away with that, so be it. I'm on board. But even if we do that, that isn't going to solve the big problem. We still got all sorts of other things that I think we need that are at a deeper level. Really, our whole concept of self and conception of the world we live in. We've got a planet full of people who live in different universes.
So I guess my problem with the big problem is, and for new listeners, I need to point out here, Heron has a body of work, including this thing called the 5 Stupidities, one of which is the word the. So, the big problem here, I think, is very, very interesting and curious. I'm talking purely about militarism, and I think the dangerous and infectious aspects of militarism, which seems to have completely permeated.
Wait, let me ask you. How is nationalism related to militarism?
Oh, it's highly. They're almost
are they
the same thing.
Okay, so all right. Yeah, my sense is nationalism then is where I would put my focus, not on militarism.
Well, yes.
Nationalism is the problem,
Yes.
not militarism.
Well, I think
militarism is just a form of organization, actually, and it's a quite effective form of organization if it was turned to something more interesting besides killing other people.
Marie Camacho writes, you brought up Marie stuff, I wanted to stay at the end, but Marie Camacho writes.
I must be channeling her, huh?
Yes, you are. And I need to point out, and I was going to make sure that this wasn't going to be the precedent this evening, but describing Heron's genitals puts you up front, I guess, Marie. Marie asked...
I can hardly wait to hear this.
I'm assuming there's a Y that's missing here. Why does Heron have an erection for the military-industrial complex? And it's a topic that I've been trying to, I guess, preface in some regard, because I also find
we haven't got any
surprising.
clarification on that question.
I think I can add some clarification.
Well, no, I don't think you can add your spin on it, but I'd be more interested in hearing what she was getting at.
Well, let me put a few things out there, and she can tell.
And read it again.
I think I'm paraphrasing what she wrote.
No, read what she wrote.
Heron, it doesn't make any sense what she wrote.
Well, that's all right. Read it anyway.
Okay, what she
was in a
wrote
hurry, and maybe she speaks English as a second language.
I think she's perfectly.
Or she just typed real fast.
I think she just typed real fast because there's no.
Or maybe she's stupid and doesn't know grammar. Who knows? All sorts of possibilities.
Second bout of Marie Camacho questions coming next week, ladies and gentlemen. She wrote.
Yeah, be more clear next time.
No, I think I can talk to this, Heron.
Well, go ahead. I can't. Well, I haven't even heard the question yet. I heard your paraphrase. Why don't you just paste the text into the chat?
Yeah, it comes with a number as well.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Okay. So the word, why does Heron, you added all that. Okay.
Yes.
Heron have an erection for military. Okay, no, I understand. Heron have an erection for military. Yeah. That's a great question. If I only had a clue as to what it means. I mean, I could
expand on this, Heron.
Go for it.
I think you speak positively of the military.
No, I don't.
Well, you certainly speak considerably more positively than I would speak about the military.
No, I'm just looking at, I don't care about what you label. I'm just looking at forms of organization. Okay. That form of organization is very close to what the Est group used. It's a great form when you have for the right people in the right circumstances. That kind of an organizational capability is really good for certain kinds of limited applications.
Like killing people.
Well, it's good for that, but it's also good for, yes, and also like emergency situations, fires, all sorts of...
We have civilian...
No, that's what I'm saying.
That do that.
That's because the
distinction is the military has arms.
I know,
which they use against the population.
That's what I'm saying. I don't give a shit about the military aspect. I'm just looking at the organizational structure. Yes, get their fucking guns away from them.
Then they're no longer the military.
Well, okay, I will give them a new name then. I don't care. The National Service, the Global Service. Why don't you call it what the fuck you want? Keep the organization. Get rid of the guns.
The organization is suspect, Heron.
Well, everything is suspect, but that doesn't mean you should just go out and throw out everything immediately. I mean, there's probably a lot of it. I mean, it is effective in certain limited situations. Or it can be. Or we should study it and find out. I don't know.
I probably have more military-related books.
Oh, I know. You like toy soldiers.
No. I know. I like military history.
Yeah. I don't give a shit about that. See, who cares? But the idea, the ability of people to organize and get shit done, there are many forms of organization that might be useful, and the military has perfected one very narrow thing. Now, the question is, what can we use that for usefully instead of, like I say, obviously, yes, take away all of their guns, all the guns everywhere. BB guns, no, potato guns. I guess we can keep spud guns. Does that seem okay to you?
I mean, look, there are a number of parts here, and I'm channeling Marie, and Marie, please send follow-up questions. The notion of the military, and it's interesting actually that you say, well, you just collect toy soldiers. I think actually my interest in toy soldiers is separate from my interest in military history. There's a small amount of overlap.
Yeah, I can see that.
But my interest in military history actually comes through a similar period of my development, but it actually is more to do with having an understanding of how humans can get themselves into these circumstances.
Yeah.
And how it keeps happening.
Listen, I'm not putting that down. If I sounded like I was, well, I may have sounded like it, but no, I think anyone who's interested in any aspect of, experience, it's good to study anything. And
I guess my view
a lot
is that
to be learned.
You talk about the military. But
No, I'm not. Okay, in a sense, I'm not talking about the military in the same sense that you used the word military. I'm interested in a form of organization. That's all. Just how you can coordinate the activities of a lot of people for a single purpose.
I guess my view would be that if you read or absorbed or consumed, even passively, historical information associated with, the use of the military, both in this country and in other countries.
Well, let's talk about this. Okay, instead of, what if we talk about the organized use of weaponry? Would you say that's the equivalent of military?
Well, that's very interesting because, then you're talking about things like, currently, in the very abstract sense, things like drones.
Sure.
And missiles.
Yes, all of that.
Kind of
yeah.
things.
Well, yeah, anything that's used to do that kind of shit, to kill people.
And then we move towards the kind of humanitarian cluster bombs,
Well, all I'm saying is the word military is the only real issue we have here. You use the word, the word military has a lot of connotations for you that it just doesn't have for me. To me, it's just a term that refers to something. I agree with you completely. Get the fucking weapons away from all of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you got these people and you got all this organizational ability. What are we going to use them for?
Well, that's a question that is very, very interesting. But to return to Marie's question.
It's meaninless. It's full of reifications that apparently mean something to her.
She doesn't use the word "the."
No, but military-industrial complex, clearly erection is, I guess, I understand what she's saying. But, I would like to see the question, fleshed out a little bit. I can make up my own meaning for it, and I could certainly respond to that. Certainly I have strong feelings about the military-industrial complex, Yeah. I'm against it.
This is the thing that interests me, actually. It actually goes back to the discussion that we had of elections in Australia.
Elections?
Elections in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
right.
Elections. Yeah. With the view that when you are forced to participate in an election, you are forced to become politicized in some regard. if you're being checked,
I'm sorry, the idea of being forced into an erection is just...
Anyway, moving on from
I couldn't stop it. It's my language machine's fault. I accept no responsibility for that.
Marie and other listeners, I think we've made the case perfectly clear that, well-formed grammatical questions without reference to Heron's genitalia will probably be discussed sensibly. Moving on from this.
Well, we can talk about my genitalia if we want to, but then we'll talk. That's a separate subject.
That's a separate subject. Marie, yeah. I think that's a conversation that I would prefer not necessarily to have in these circumstances.
We'll have that by ourselves, and we don't need you.
Yes, believe me. Moving on. Marie also asks, and this I think is grammatically, although she doesn't capitalize New Zealand, but anyway, she asks if New Zealand is a good country to go if things get worse. Have you ever been to New Zealand?
No.
I've been to New Zealand briefly, and I have family in New Zealand. So my experience of New Zealand is prefaced on that. I actually think, and this, I guess, channels a discussion we had maybe 2 years ago, I think it's called Dolphin versus Rat or something like that. But my view is that any large body of land actually gives you the ability to find places within that land to call your own. And I think actually New Zealand
like historically, yeah. Right,
historically. Yeah. And I think probably in the near future as well.
Yeah, right.
So my view is New Zealand has its problems. It's probably one of the most demilitarized countries in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also possibly in some areas, some of them remote in terms of just getting away from people. But I found that in Australia, and I think you can find that in the US. And truth be told, easily. Actually, even in heavily populated places like the UK.
You can find it here in Orange County.
Exactly. So, it's interesting, this notion of things getting worse. Because, I mean, my view is that firstly, I'm not sure what actually the migrant...
Well, worse for who?
Yes, I guess. But I wouldn't think of New Zealand as being a particularly... I don't know, I mean, I have family there, and they seem to survive and get on perfectly well. And truth be told, my second cousin who lives there has made an amazing career for herself there. And certainly every, American starlet who comes through New Zealand spends some time with her. So she has this kind of ability to, be photographed with all these, singers and actors and what have you. I think you can make a place where you can escape to, or at least be your fortress of solitude. I want to use, what's the term? Someplace you can go. I think you can find that anywhere. It's just a matter of actually looking for these spaces in particular.
You don't even need the space.
Yeah.
You can do it in the middle of a bus station.
Just so long as there isn't a guy with a gun nearby. But yes.
No, yeah, well, there are times when you can't, but in those cases, you're not worried about those issues anyway.
Yes.
You're on to more immediate affairs. That's what I say, this idea of getting away. If it gets worse, get smart.
Well, you should be smart to start off with.
Yeah, but I mean, if it gets worse, the idea of going somewhere else where it's not as bad isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So my suggestion is, if it gets worse, start working more.
Start working now, because you need to be working now.
Yeah, you don't need to wait till it gets any worse. It is going to get worse.
Yeah.
You can count on that.
It's interesting, actually, because aside from the military-industrial complex question, I think you and I are going to be simpatico on the rest of Marie's questions, but I'll try the third now, since we've agreed.
I don't even know what the first one is. So I don't know how we could disagree with it, because I really don't even know what the question is.
Anyway. So
it's basically saying, do I have an opinion about the military-industrial complex?
Well, you seem to have given, both to Marie and to me, a particularly, maybe just a tangential view to one that perhaps other listeners share. Anyway, moving on.
Probably, yeah. It doesn't strike me as being all that radical to see.
Well, I mean, compared to the average American, possibly so, but compared to perhaps the kinds of folk that, Marie and to a lesser extent I seek out, it seems to be considerably more normative.
Anyway, I hope you're right, yeah.
Moving on. Marie's final question, I think, for the evening. What is the status of those advocating privacy, particularly technological solutions? At this point, is effort towards privacy risky? You see, this actually is almost perfectly written sentence, a series of sentences with question marks, capitalization.
Yeah. Almost is the effective word here.
Anyway, moving on from that, I think both of us have given an account of privacy currently that I'll let you start with this one.
Oh, it's just it's so easy to just rap on that. Basically, I don't give a shit. It's too late for me. I mean, I've already nailed my coffin. I've said everything that I could possibly say. And if they're listening like it appears they are, then, I've had my say, and so what? I'm not doing anything. Well, am I? I'm probably doing something illegal, but nothing big time illegal. And, I just don't, it's not an issue for me.
Again, this I think is a question that you and I will be simpatico on. I mean, my view is actually the best way to assault this whole notion of privacy is to do what we do. Aside from Heron's erection, I mean, I think, we're relatively simpatico associated with the fact that you have to stand in public sometimes and say these things.
Well, these people that get on Facebook and whine about privacy, and I think,
Yeah.
I mean, it really is almost as funny as those guys killing the elephant,
No, I think there are different spheres to these things. The thing that always strikes me in this country is just how extraordinarily little financial privacy you have. How basically everything associated with the private sector, all your purchases, all your financial transactions, and this is ultimately, I guess, why there's a business establishing, Swiss bank accounts for the uber rich, is that there's a stratus of the society that already knows this perfectly and needs to create their own secret monetary what have you. It really is just extraordinary. I think the whole conversation associated with privacy is just ridiculous.
Well, it goes, it gets in, because it really gets into this whole thing about where the world is headed. What kind of planet are we going to create? Given this technology and what's coming over the next 20, 30 years?
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean, what the fuck are we going to do with this?
We have a listener-submitted question from KMO, which must indicate that KMO actually listens to Stone Ape, at least on a periodic basis. I often wonder this, actually, when I give neutral or perhaps slightly negative narrative associated with various individuals, if eventually they'll tune in. But thankfully I've never done that with regards to KMO. So KMO writes, Rand Paul is proposing an overhaul of the mandatory minimum sentencing laws that have made the USA the world's leading jailer. Yeah, by a factor of 3, substantially. The Obama administration is looking to beat him to the punch by doing the same thing by executive order. After decades of complicity at the barbaric excesses of the world war on some drugs, why now? Will it go anywhere? Or is it the political flavour of the moment to be forgotten in a month's time? Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
My view is that this is just political circus. The Obama administration and Rand Paul have both been heavily funded by the prison industrial complex, and I can't see the Obama administration, particularly with the folks that they have in the Justice Department, doing anything associated with the kind of commercial jail infrastructure that exists in this country. Interestingly enough, because I'm absolutely no fan of the Democratic Party, when Clinton was in office and he passed a series of laws which seemed particularly, well, he didn't pass, his buddies in the Democratic Party passed a series of laws which seemed really very curious. I actually did some investigation of this. I think it was, I must have been in Australia at the time, and realised that the criminal lawyers actually donate, in terms of a professional group, donate vastly more to Democrats than they do Republicans. It's quite extraordinary, actually, litigation attorneys, a wide variety of, criminal lawyers, which actually creates a lot of the strange bedfellows in the Democratic Party. And it really makes me realise that this whole narrative associated with there being any particular difference between the two parties, if you do any basic analysis of their funding sources, you start to realise that there's basically no incentive for them to change anything associated with this. In fact, just to make it more ridiculous. Rand Paul is an interesting character. Generally mixed views associated with him, and I think his father is probably one of the more curious individuals in terms of being an authoritarian libertarian. In fact, it's one of these strange rebranding efforts that when you're basically fundamentally authoritarian associated with women, minorities, basically anyone who isn't roughly a wealthy white man, that you still get to be called a libertarian. But Rand Paul is, I think, even less libertarian than his father claims to be. And I find it very curious, actually. I mean, aside from aside from the drone narrative, which just stuns me that basically a majority of politicians don't latch onto this, particularly when, the drones start falling in the US. Just extraordinary. I don't think anything's going to happen associated with the prisons in this country. I think they're going to get considerably worse. I think they're going to get considerably more commercialized. And I think what we're seeing currently is indicative of something that is basically, and historically, I've not seen any legislative effort to change this. And I think Rand Paul is just posturing for his, next election. Obama, I can't understand KMO's views associated with the Democratic Party and Obama in particular. I think it's extraordinary if you follow any of the, history of these folks that, any thinking person would talk about them any more positively than the other group of scum. I couldn't make any headway out of KMO's question, and I think we are looking towards a prison system that will probably be 2.5 million people. I think it'll probably be 10 million people by the end of my lifetime, or at least the end of my time in the US. And I think the nature of the corporations that are running the prisons and all the additional infrastructure are looking for nothing more than profits in the next 20 to 30 years, and will do everything in their utmost, including, the current system associated with politicians, to continue to put Americans, folks such as the young fellow who I was describing earlier, into their grips. I don't see any change. I think it's only going to get worse. Heron, what's your view?
What was the question again?
Rand Paul is proposing an overhaul of the mandatory minimum sentencing laws that have made the US the world's leading jailer. The Obama administration is looking to beat him to the punch by doing the same thing by executive order. After decades of complacency at the barbaric excesses of the war on some drugs, why now? Will it go anywhere, or is it the political flavour of the moment to be forgotten in a month's time?
Yeah. Well, I am not qualified to have an opinion about it one way or another. I don't know. I don't really give a shit. That's part of the caterpillar that I'll leave to you guys to worry about.
Very good. Peter Stempel, following this line, asks, last night I attended a lecture in which the presenter proposed that a certain city would be racially divided and would not progress until a Truth and Reconciliation Commission was convened. The carpeting lifted and things swept under the rug exposed. Personally, I think having these stories be told would be useful to the culture and the individuals involved. Curious to know what Heron's views on Truth and Reconciliation. I guess he means yeah, but anyway, it's a question. Heron?
Okay, let me hear it again.
Last night I attended a lecture in which the presenter proposed that a certain city would be racially divided and would not progress until a Truth and Reconciliation Commission was convened.
Okay, and this is all we have. You don't know what he's referring to.
He makes no reference to the
Okay, so this is all we have. Okay.
This is abstract. Yes.
And I'm assuming he's talking about black and white?
Oh, it could be Latino and black, it could be Latino and white, it could be black and Latino.
All right. Anyway, it's some racial divide. We're talking
yes.
about it, though, and that there was some discrimination and untold stories. Okay.
Yeah. I personally was offended at the carpeting lifted and things swept under the rug exposed. Peter Stempel claims to be an architect, Heron, and if he doesn't know the difference between carpeting and rugs, great concern. Anyway, moving on. Look, I think this is a softball to you, Heron, because the whole notion of truth and reconciliation. The fact is, in all of these circumstances, the history is always there.
Yeah, it's part. Yeah, there's no avoiding how we got where we are.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily determine where we're going. In fact, it doesn't determine it at all.
Exactly.
But it is probably useful. Yeah, I can't imagine. I've studied a lot of history. And I've missed a lot more, but I have some sense of the long historical perspective, at least for the, let's say, last 10,000 years. And, but God, so few people have any sense of that.
I'll put it to you in film terms. My view is that in general, and this fits very much into potentially your line, the people, particularly the people in power or the people that have been enacting whatever has occurred through the period of time in history, cannot handle the truth. They are sufficiently removed from what needs to be, exposed here or talked about or reconciled. I mean, I think the notion of truth and reconciliation is a word game. And it's a word game that's played.
Maybe it might make some people feel better.
That's exactly my point, but it doesn't actually do anything.
Well, making people feel better doesn't do anything?
Well, the problem that I've found historically in my own experience when I've seen truth and reconciliation...
Well, I don't even know. I mean, South Africa is the only one I can think of. I mean, where I'm familiar with that term.
Yes.
This is something that's been happening in lots of places?
Well, I mean, they've attempted to do it in Australia. I think they certainly attempted to do it in LA in a period of time. I mean, they've certainly attempted to do it in various cities at various times within the US. And I think it strikes me as...
attempting to do it. See, that's the difference. Yeah, we're going to try to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I find the whole thing very, very curious, personally. And I think if Peter had given the city... he would have given us something to talk
anyway, so the point is something about, the issue here is apparently we have these minimum sentencing requirements.
No, that you've it's the previous question. We can go back to that one if you want.
Which one are we on? I don't know.
The questions are too long and complicated, folks. We need simple questions.
It's all one question to me, so excuse me.
I'll read Peter's question again. This is separate from KMO's question that we've already done something with.
Yes.
Peter's question was, last night I attended a lecture in which the presenter proposed that a certain city would be racially divided and would not progress until a Truth and Reconciliation Commission was reconvened. My favourite example of this is the UK. The UK has non-stop Truth and Reconciliation Commissions associated with everything. They had one with the Iraq War. They had one with the BBC. While I was there, it was just non-stop Truth and Reconciliation.
Really? Yeah.
And all it did was created this obscene narrative that justified lunacy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the whole notion of Truth and Reconciliation is just a branding of words.
Well, I think it probably could be useful in some circumstances.
I've moved beyond that, Heron. Having seen Truth and Reconciliation, my favourite was the BBC.
Yeah, basically the only real solution, of course, is for those stupid brain-damaged language monkeys to wake the fuck up.
Let me tell you about the BBC, Heron. The BBC used to be, it was in period of deterioration when I was in the UK.
Yeah, but they did Monty Python, and I can forgive them for everything.
So, while I was there, the BBC, an investigative reporter in the BBC, interviewed, I think he was actually he was someone in the government, civil servant, who had given information that led to some of the disclosure associated with weapons of mass destruction. An investigative reporter in the BBC went out, found this information out, tried to get an interview with the guy, and in the process exposed who he was. He lost his anonymity, which apparently is completely critical if you're going to be creating fictitious information associated with weapons of mass destruction. This public servant in the UK committed suicide, which is typically what people do when they're exposed in this light and they have no means of, interacting with society in some light because they're in some kind of crazed secrecy thing. The government in the UK created a commission associated with the BBC in order to investigate what had happened. They put in front of as the commissioner, a fellow called Lord Hutton, who I renamed Bored Mutton because he was some old dude who just kind of looked off into space and seemed to be distinctly disconnected with the immense irony associated with the commission associated with this thing. The UK does this thing continuously in order to just re-justify a kind of normative position which in no way discusses the underlying problems. And my view is that truth and reconciliation is a bit like winning the hearts and minds of the Iraqi people in terms of the level of linguistic irony and distrust that people should have when they experience these things.
Hear, hear.
Peter, you got to get your rugs and your carpets straight, mate, if you're going to be coming into the Stone 8 podcast. I look forward to... Actually, you may actually have more questions, I think, further down.
See, I don't even see how we can really even have an opinion about the words truth and reconciliation.
Oh, I got an opinion on it.
Well, I know. We just heard it. And that's why I'm trying to figure out what it is that you actually have an opinion of. And it seems to me that your opinion is of some idea in your head about some rightfully observed stupid people misusing situations.
I guess my view is that
it's like military separating the structure from the weapons. There are finer distinctions that need to be made.
I guess I'm looking to Peter to provide examples of truth and reconciliation commissions, because my view is that in every aspect of narrative history that you find, you will find both immense irony, also immense hardship, and a complete lack of reconciliation between the dominant historical narrative and the kind of information that you can find.
Yeah. Well, it's individual. Again, there isn't any us. It's just lots of me's. And it's going to happen on that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only reconciliation is when you wake the fuck up from being a brain-damaged language monkey and get that the voice in your head is not who you are.
Yes. I also want to make a point that the repressed people in these circumstances can usually vote with their feet.
Well, there are people who are really just fucked, though.
True.
If you're born in Somalia...
They left! A huge number of them left. They walked through the desert with the lions growling.
Some of them were too weak to walk.
True.
You're
right.
It's just, it's tragic.
Yes.
But the world as it's presently structured is full of this stuff.
Yes. It's full of too much of this stuff.
Yeah, well, it would seem that one of the jobs before us is to basically end all that bullshit and create some sort of reasonable situation where we could all live together here. That seems reasonable to me. I think we could do that. But not with humans.
Yeah. I'm going to throw in a Tom topic here, Heron. We've been ruminating on these listener-submitted questions. And actually, this came to me this week. I heard this somewhere. I think it might have even been a Facebook comment, which was a quote associated with the notion that when you have a circumstance of democracy, like the utopian democracy, one person, one vote, unmolested, no gerrymandering, no these strange regional divisions which stop, one person, one vote existing, you ultimately move towards a very radical form of socialism. Because the structure elites, those holding, 1 to 5% of the capital, don't actually want this notion of plural democracy to exist. Because immediately the majority would start seeing them as the minority and look to ways to either redistribute the wealth or do a variety of other things. And what we see currently, in terms of our modern Western democracies, and perhaps in particular in this country, is exactly this phenomena that what we have is a group of elites that maintain their control so absolutely, but at the same time kind of provide these fantasies. And this is in fact the problem. But it was said very succinctly, associated with this notion that if there was truly, one person, one vote, then, the 1% elite could not exist comfortably.
Depends on how good the marketing is.
So you think in this country the marketing is the strongest part associated with.
I think most people are unconscious language monkeys who believe everything they hear their language machine say. They've got a story going on in their head and many of them that includes all this, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Independent world. And, I just don't see much use in that.
So, in terms of educating a small number of people to at least take this idea and move it into something that can percolate through a broader social audience, there must come a point where the group gets sufficiently large that they are either seen as being an absolute threat, which is very much part of the
that's one sort of standard story.
Information kind of terrorism narrative.
Yeah. These people are dangerous. They're actually making some changes.
Exactly. So
again, it'd be better if it could be done all mimetically with YouTube or something, and just so there isn't any, we just keep releasing new memes, and if you could create the situation for that.
Yes.
Then they'd go through and.
Yes.
I just watched a fascinating movie last night called Perfect Sense. Have you ever heard of it?
Well, since you posted on your Facebook page, I have, but I haven't actually gone and looked for it. Tell us a little bit about Perfect Sense.
Well, I'm not sure. Well, basically, there's this strange, viral infection that takes away people's senses one by one. First thing that goes is the sense of smell, and then the sense of taste, and then hearing, and finally vision. And
how about touch? Do they lose touch?
No, they don't. And that bothered me because I was expecting that to, but the more I think about it is you really couldn't even function if you didn't have touch. I mean, you couldn't even get up and walk around.
So through my life, I've noticed a number of my senses dull. And it's something actually that concerns me, particularly associated with my sense of taste, but also to a certain extent my sense of touch. And my touch has always been fucked up. I mean, in terms of scarring and things like that I've had through various operations, basically my sense of touch has always been kind of subpar. But when I had my bone graft, they had to chill me down. They took me down to, I think, 80 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. I mean, they pumped me full of this stuff and cooled me to get the bone to solidify.
Antifreeze.
Antifreeze, yes. Yes. And the thing that struck me was that I also lost a lot of sensations through this period. I mean, in terms of my hands and what have you. And I found in particularly high stress periods also that I will lose the sense of touch in my face. I can't feel my face at all.
I mean, really? Totally?
Yeah, like totally.
Like, in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Dead end.
Yeah.
And I think I'm noticing this now with my sense of taste.
And that includes your tongue too, or just the skin on your face?
No, skin, the whole thing.
Your whole head? What about the top of your head, your scalp?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting actually because this person out there thinks of me as a distinct entity from humanity. Because of these kind of... She
does have a name, doesn't she? Wouldn't that be okay to use that?
Apparently I'm not supposed to mention any aspect of her now in these recordings.
Well, you just said she's this another person.
Yes, this anonymous person. Anyway,
it's an entity. It's not necessarily a person.
Yes. My spiritual advisor. Anyway, so it is a phenomenon that I'm actually noticing in my own life. My vision, I'm actually going to consult now, because my vision's at the point where it's... Firstly, I've been researching associated with getting rid of my stereo blindness, and I'd really like to see what that was like, if it's possible. I don't know whether I'd go through surgery, but I'm interested to see if there are techniques that can be used to try to correct my stereo blindness. But associated with my sense of taste in particular, I'm getting very concerned about that, because that's actually something that I enjoy. Unlike you, I'm not a kind of, soylent kind of guy.
Oh, no, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm only that way intellectually. Fuck, I love pizza. Yeah. I mean, and scallops. I mean, and a really good steak.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Exactly. This is the thing that's concerning me is that I feel my taste is numbing as
Oh,
well.
that's, yeah.
So
well, I think that comes with age. I mean, most of our senses do go down, don't they?
This is what interests me about this whole notion of progressively losing your senses.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
should
think
watch this movie. You're going to, this movie is, well.
I will.
I'll say no more.
Hopefully I can find it on Netflix.
I would imagine you could.
Yeah.
That's right. You're the ideal guy to go watch a movie.
Yes. Anyway.
Perfect sense.
I will look out for that one.
At the end of the movie, of course, they can't taste anything. They can't smell anything. They can't hear anything. And now the last thing, they can't see anything. So there you are. But you can still feel.
Yeah.
So you could still get up and sort of wander around, and bump into things and maybe, essentially you're going to starve to death, probably.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. But what would happen if the sense of touch left? Is there anything of you left?
Yeah.
You can feel your own blood pressure. You can hear when it's silent, you can hear your heart beating.
Mm.
So, but no, you probably can't hear it since you're deaf, so you can't hear it, but you can still feel your body pulsing. Yeah. But again, that's just another sense.
It was,
what if that was cut off? Are you still there?
My view is actually from my early childhood on, I came to the realization that most adults went through this process anyway. I remember intellectually, and this comes through being spanked more than anything, but I remember intellectually that obviously my parents didn't have as good a sense of touch as I had, because the act of spanking to me, and this came to me intellectually while I was being spanked on stage as these things happen. But the thing that struck me, and particularly with my paternal grandfather, was I had this sense that humans just became numbed as they got older, that they lost any emotional, and ultimately this is metaphor for emotion here as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That basically the loss of sensory experience, in large part through hard life experience, made people lose aspects of their senses. I remember once passing, I think it was a cassette tape, to my paternal grandfather, and realized that his sense of vision was also ruined. I should have known this, because other aspects of his senses were all fucked up. What was his vision as well, and it was.
Yeah. Well, I've certainly been affected by not being able to focus up close. I need reading glasses now. But actually, the reading glasses have worked out actually better than not having reading glasses.
Yes. Because
with the resolution on the iPad, and since I've got two different kinds of reading glasses now, and I have special glasses for the iPad that actually allow me, they're really magnifying glasses.
Yes.
And because of the screen resolution, you can, everything just appears on it when you can see it all really clearly.
Yes.
It's really quite a bit different, at least for me, with those kind of glasses. In fact, I'd recommend that anybody who has to wear reading glasses anyway, and if you've got any high res screen, then get yourself some 3.75 reading glasses and keep those for using your iPad.
Very good.
You'll thank me.
So I'm actually wondering through this interaction, my experience with optometrists have typically, and basically anyone associated professionally, medically with vision, have been so poor up until now that I'm actually I had this experience with dentists as well. I had to completely retrain my experience level associated with dentists, but my experience with folks medical professionals associated with vision has brought so much, and this was youthful rage, this was when I was 17, 18, going in and talking to these medical professionals about, and they said, you should be happy, your vision's getting better. Yeah. And I said, no, I don't see the same way as other people. Is there anything you can do about this? No, your vision's getting better.
Yeah, that's
and you
unfortunate.
Hear this a few times, and you just...
See, I've had, my very first experience with an optometrist was a fake. I was in the Air Force, and I could get free everything, And I thought, and I never used glasses.
Yeah.
I read, this was after I discovered Alan Watts, so I was reading, and anyway, so I went there to get some reading some glasses in general, because I thought they'd look cool.
Yeah.
You know, and so the guy gave me the examination, and he did some stuff, and he put some glasses on me, and he says, "Come out here in this room." And it was in a big warehouse-like place. And I looked around and said, yeah, and he put these glasses on, and all of a sudden everything was so much sharper than it had ever been before.
Yeah.
I didn't even know. I mean, how would you know?
Yeah.
I could get by. I didn't bump into things. I could read easily. But the clarity that I could see everything with was like Twilight Zone time. In fact, now that I think about it, that was one of my awakening moments. It was like, wow.
Yes. Well, I am hopeful, but I am not optimistic. I think, yeah.
Well, what's the problem you have?
Well, I have multiple aspects here. The first thing I'd like to have fixed is stereo blindness.
And what does that mean? You mean you don't
I don't see
depth?
in stereo. I have no
You don't
depth
see
perception.
depth?
No.
Really? How is it that you can navigate?
I do it barely.
I mean, would a cane actually be helpful?
I need to look at things, but I tilt my head typically.
Okay, so you can move your head side to side. So, and what happens as you move side to side?
I get some perception of parallax, which gives me stereo. Well,
okay,
which gives me parallax.
So anyway, if you move side to side, I mean, and that must be a strategy you use then.
It makes me look very strange.
Yeah,
people.
but if in an important situation, you can do it.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. Okay.
Makes driving very interesting, and it makes even navigating
I'm surprised
stairs.
they let you drive. If it was up to me, I would snatch your license.
Well, I don't have one currently. I've been without a license for 10 years now.
Okay.
Based in large part from this.
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, that would be dangerous.
Yes. So, but I have.
Well, actually, wait a minute. I want to talk. That's interesting because obviously you can compensate with an intellectual understanding, you know, and memory of distances and stuff. How do you actually do that if you can't perceive it directly?
It's very difficult, particularly in driving.
Is it an intellectual operation? You look at something and you go, "Oh, that's a vast, and it's this big, and that's over there, and here's something."
The worst part about it is that any visual obstruction, so even a car braking 30 feet ahead of me, immediately gives me the reaction that it's immediately very close.
That you have to slam on the brakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not a particularly pleasant experience for my wife. So,
yeah. Well, why do you drive? I
don't in this country, and I haven't for a period of time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you're not fit to drive.
Well, I'm wondering if this can be surgically... I mean, I'm wondering if this can be
that's the question, is can they fix this? Yeah.
But also, I have other aspects of my vision that I think need to be corrected as well.
Yeah, but that's a big one. I mean, that's a really big one.
Well, there are other symptomatic things. I mean, the problem is that it was diagnosed as being a cognitive issue rather than a mechanical issue.
Optical issue, yeah.
And that frustrated me no end because it meant that they just basically gave up. So my understanding is in the past 10 years at least there's been progress associated with this. And I'm meeting initially just with a entry-level fellow. But my ideal hope is that I'll be able to meet with a specialist who will be able to do something potentially about this. Because in terms of my professional life, I can read code, but my vision feels, to me at least, like it's deteriorating. And there seems to be, anyway.
Yeah, no, vision is real important.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to lose it.
Yes. I think also the nature of my professional life, in fact, all the people I work with professionally have corrective, and most of them are older than me, but still they're of my age group. And basically, I think the nature of our profession, particularly associated with long-term screen usage, is actually very damaging to the eyes as well. So yes, I'm interested in actually finding a specialist, as other specialists have been presented in this part of the world who will be able to do something about this. So.
You know, after watching that movie that we were just talking about, Perfect Sense, that's actually still on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always been that issue, you know, would you rather, if you had to choose, would you be blind or would you be deaf?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always seemed pretty obvious to me that I'd rather go deaf.
Oh, interesting.
But actually, now that I look at it now, I mean, I don't remember when the last time I looked at it, it would seem to me that being deaf really cuts you off.
Completely.
You know, although you can learn sign language.
Have you ever had periods of hearing loss?
No.
When I have very, very small eustachian tubes, And particularly in my early childhood, but even actually to my late teens, I would have middle ear infections that basically would knock out my hearing almost instantly. To the point where I actually got better at lip reading, and it really was very, very curious. In my late teens.
You mean could you hear rumblings and things, or there was no sensation whatsoever?
We had a large upright piano that I could play and hear quite well, but I'd play it very loudly.
Okay, so basically it was like it was muffled.
Yeah,
seriously.
It perfectly cut out most human speech.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that experience was very interesting because it was very much like. It's funny, actually, because you think of your vision as being more important.
Well, it is for some things.
But your primary connection...
Playing baseball.
Yeah, your primary connection to aspects of the intellectual world are actually considerably more auditory than they are visual.
Yeah, I could do what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, how would I communicate with people if I was deaf?
Yeah.
I mean, I could type, but, man, that's right, I could type.
Yeah. I've known blind people, and I've been amazed how well they can interact. I know people. In fact, I'm meeting with a guy this week. Week coming, I'm taking a day off work because we have a listener in town, and I'm going to meet a few guys, local model rail guys, and one of them is profoundly deaf, and I have to really yell in his presence. But
he's not profoundly deaf if he gets it when you yell.
I'm one of the few people he can. It's actually interesting. He seeks me out because he can hear me. The same was true, actually, of my grandmother, that for years she had told me to speak more quietly until she lost her hearing, and then I was basically the only person that could communicate with her.
Yeah.
Very curious things, these sensory paradoxes. Yeah, I'd go with blindness in a heartbeat. And it's interesting, actually, because I look at the deterioration of my eyes, and I think if I step this logically through, particularly the industry that I work in, what would my future be? And it would have to be getting out of this industry. Funnily enough, due to my various visual curiosities, I worked for a company in the UK, which was a printer company, and I would go into these companies like Heidelberg, which is a big German printer manufacturer. In fact, it's one of my early experiences in Germany. And I'd look at the printing, and I'd be able to tell them what was wrong with their printers. So there are certain aspects of my vision which are amazingly well tuned that normal humans don't have.
Well, you're real nearsighted.
No, not at all. No, it's to do actually with interpretive spatial perception. So, for example, when I also worked in a VR.
Okay, so it's not a vision issue, actually. It's a wiring
processing issue.
Yeah,
it's always been a wiring issue.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. And you think that's something you were born with?
I have a pretty good indication that that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean,
who knows what the possibilities are? I mean, idiot savants, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, if he can do that, it's just a brain.
Yeah.
You know, if they can do it, anybody can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, we just don't know shit.
We don't.
Isn't that great?
Well, I think that realization is the beginning of actually
liberation. Yeah.
Well, it's actually exciting intellectually because it means that you as an individual have a potential to do exploration.
Yeah, we can make a contribution to this field.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't need a $20 billion linear accelerator.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
A microphone.
What Einstein did without a $20 billion linear accelerator, isn't it?
Yeah, he had
amazing what all these physicists did without these expensive bits of equipment.
That's right. But of course, those equipment. Well, that's a justification. There's good reason for all that equipment. But again, that's just equipment.
Hundreds of people I know.
Well, and it creates new data.
Yes. Well,
now that we know the Higgs boson exists, or we're pretty sure it does, I mean, we can relax, you know?
I've been relaxed through the whole process, Heron.
We don't have to go around killing ourselves anymore.
My heart rate has not changed.
There is a Higgs boson.
Yeah, I think that whole area of physics has moved so much into almost alchemy.
La La Land.
That it is so far beyond the amazing insights that were made at the start of last century. I really just think,
No, it's in time. Yes, definitely in need of a new paradigm.
Yeah.
The old way.
To Kantian philosophy, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I don't see it as original. Well, we'll see. We'll see what it is. You know, it seems to me it's certainly related to language.
Yeah.
The way we conceive of the world.
So, speaking of the way we conceive of the world, I received a LinkedIn request from a fellow who I knew in university. This fellow was doing a PhD when I was doing an undergraduate degree, and we lived in the same dormitory on campus. He was from Adelaide, which is the town that I was born in South Australia, and I knew him quite well. He actually did some early work with Noble Ape as well. He was the astronomer-physicist who talked a little bit about the apes looking up into the stars. And, he was a genuinely nice and interesting character. We kind of lost ways. In fact, the last solid correspondence I had with him, well, actually it was me just corresponding with him because he didn't respond, was when I had the 15 years of Noble Ape. I contacted him. I got a LinkedIn request from him through the week, and he started at Netflix. He'd actually been at Netflix for about a week. So he said, look, I'm leaving tomorrow. He's working at Netflix remotely, which is what he's done through all his jobs. He's made a career, actually, of working remotely.
That's great. Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
He lives in Adelaide and works for Netflix, which sounds to me to be almost like a dream in some regard, although it would be thoroughly impractical for me to do the same thing. In fact, next to impossible, because of my relationships with the fruit factory.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I actually went downstairs and went across to his building and shook his hand. I said, hi, Dave. He doesn't go by Dave anymore. He goes by David. And shook his hand and looked into his eyes. And this was a person who I knew 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was very strange because I think he was certainly part of a social group that I was only part of for a short period of time. And certainly when I left, there was some curious interaction with some of the parties in that group. In particular, a woman who felt scorned by my departure from that social group. So I don't really know what happened following my departure, and I know that certainly various things occurred after the fact, which, I had no connection with, but apparently had some connection to me. I'm not sure. I mean, he was certainly part of that, and he didn't correspond. I mean, I've had maybe 3 or 4 bits of meaningful correspondence from him in the past 15 odd years. But he is in the original manuals of Noble Ape. He's referenced in there, and I did want to talk to him again. He was a bit... I kind of felt that he was a bit taken aback by me actually going down and shaking his hand. It was kind of a strange interaction, actually. And it was one that I guess I'm prefacing through all these prior experiences. I think we're both older, although he looked very similar to the way I remember him. I don't know how I looked to him. But yeah, it was a sharp colliding of universes. I lived my life in this country intentionally almost completely immune from my prior lives. Either my life in Vegas or, my life in the UK or my life in Australia. It's the way I like it, actually. And certainly to meet these people, and occasionally, look, I mean, truth be told, occasionally when we were in Vegas, people would come through and I'd meet them, but it was very strange to me and it was quite alien, but I still put myself in this position. This fellow is...
I don't enjoy that. I have no interest in meeting any of our listeners in person.
Well, he isn't a listener. He's someone I knew previously.
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, just the whole idea of, physical relationships with people, being in their presence. It's a really powerful thing.
He works in a team that I have very, very limited contact with. In fact, the interesting part is that his boss is also a graduate of the university I attended in Australia and contacted me again through LinkedIn, although I have no personal connection with this man, and I've never actually met him.
Wait a minute. Also, it just dawned on me. If he works remotely, how is it that you could walk down to his office?
Because he was in town just briefly. I mean, obviously, he works remotely.
You knew that already. And
he contacted me through LinkedIn, and I messaged him and established through his Facebook. We're friends on Facebook, funnily enough.
Yeah, okay.
No meaningful communication.
I was just, all of a sudden, that had been nagging me unconsciously for several minutes, and then all of a sudden it popped up.
He was co-cubing with his boss, who wasn't in his cube, actually, so I didn't have an opportunity to meet his boss. But yeah, it strikes me, I mean, I don't think I can really narrate this particularly heavily, but I've never It does strike me as very strange that one could do anything associated with Netflix and work remotely. But he obviously, he has a long-standing relationship with his boss.
Yeah.
And he has a history of doing this.
Yeah, it depends on what the function is. That would seem reasonable. There are probably many functions that could be done anywhere. They don't need to be in the damn office.
Well,
there are some things where they need to be in the office. You're right.
Almost every aspect of what we do at Netflix requires some degree of physical proximity. The nature...
Why?
Because the nature of the problems that we encounter have to be resolved... A number of them have to be resolved face-to-face because they are not simple A, B, C problems. Uh-huh. They require you to actually interact with the other party.
Well, that's what I'm saying. What's wrong with Skype and video?
No, because the nature of the interaction typically requires multiple machines, bringing in other people. It's too dynamic. There's an element of
if they had those pieces, though, you're right. If they don't have those pieces, they're idiots. They should have those pieces.
He works in an environment which is sufficiently removed from the stuff that I do that I think it could be abstracted.
Yeah.
But almost every aspect of all the interactions that I have at work require me, if I don't get responses via email or chat, but oftentimes I just have to physically... Yeah. Because they're complex problems. It's very easy to
Well, it's set up for that anyway. That's the way the whole system is built on those face-to-face interactions. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
And in my particular position, also face-to-face interaction with people in other companies as well, primarily my company.
Yeah. That's interesting. My sense is I'm going to try to structure whatever it is I'm doing to absolutely minimize face-to-face meetings.
I wonder if that's in fact possible.
No, of course it's possible.
No,
the question is minimizing it to the optimum degree. It can't be eliminated.
Professionally, the only person who I've seen do this successfully has been Douglas Rushkoff. He's been able to write...
there's one guy who's done it.
Write remotely. He does go into points of physical contact because he needs benefactors in certain interactions.
And that's fun anyway. I don't want to do it. I like doing that. I like being, among the masses. I like giving public talks. It's fun.
Yeah.
But I just, as far as the business side of everything, it would seem that it ought to be handled this way, and the teaching. I can't imagine I can imagine, yes. I can imagine that there are reasons to have meetings where people show up physically. Absolutely. And that's real special. But the bulk of education, I would think, doesn't require that.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to add to that perfect sense thing, something to look for. Not for you. I'm sure you would have picked up on this, but for the really stupid people that are listening, prior to losing their sense, in case first, it was smell, taste, hearing, and sight, they have some sort of overload, physical manifestation. It's almost like a zombie movie in that sense, is that they go through this period that lasts maybe 10 minutes or so, or maybe longer, maybe shorter. I'm not quite sure, where there's kind of an orgy of that sense, though. And then it comes to an abrupt end and they can't smell anymore. And then there's like 2 months later comes the taste thing, and then the other two come relatively quickly after that. But anyway, each one is preceded by these psychological, or whatever, totally these weird symptoms of orgies of each of those senses. That's really fun. It's a really impressive movie on that level.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I think I need to watch it in order to have more to talk about.
Oh yeah, there's nothing more you can say. Yeah, you should. I hope you watch it, and
yes.
I hope you like it. I think you will.
Very good.
But who knows?
Yeah, historically, the films that you've recommended with this level of detail you've always left, even though you think you haven't. On some level, are subtle spoilers that you've left through the description.
I know it. I try. Well, there's no way to really spoil it. I've told you the story.
Certainly.
It's how it's executed that's so damn good.
Yes. I think that was, what was it? Was it called Meet the Joneses or something? Or was
Oh
it
yeah,
called The
right. Yeah,
Joneses?
yeah. It's not that. It's the story. It's the way they put the movie together.
Yes.
It's just brilliant.
Yes.
And this is a movie like that.
Speaking of the way that they put the movie together, I received an email, actually, which I posted to the Stone Ape Facebook group from Bob Mottram, relating to a project that he's starting called Monkey Mind. And my spiritual advisor pointed out to me that this could be seen as being very aggressive. And I made the point to my spiritual advisor that...
Very aggressive?
yes.
Okay, I'm not...
So the perception...
Now this Monkey Mind project is aggressive?
Well, no, my publishing it was aggressive. And I said to my spiritual advisor that my view is, firstly, that it's only aggressive if you have a particular interpretation, which people could come to. And that certainly wasn't my interpretation. And as I did through the Noble Ape Developer mailing list, I wished Bob Mottram all the best with this work. I mean, my view is that
you're sharing it with the world.
He could make insights through this that would be very productive in the long term.
You never can tell.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yes. For me, there are a number of levels to this, actually, for me personally, because a large part of what I've been doing, I've been literally, for the past, I think, 26 days now, working on Noble Ape at least an hour, but sometimes up to 4 hours per day, which is something that I've done prior to Bob's launch of Monkey Mind, just because I need to get the project back to a state where it's usable for what I want to use it for. And a large part of that has actually been doing long and interesting debugging sessions through various problems in the simulation.
You must be having a ball.
Historically, actually, this has been certainly through, even going back to the time where I was working with Apple on this has actually been my role. The time where I get to do fun stuff with Noble Ape, typically, I've basically got to do the chores before I can do the fun stuff.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
And this stuff is very much the chores.
Yeah, but still, it's chores on your project.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, it's an awesome thing.
I can't complain.
Yeah, you're a lucky man.
Yeah, no, I feel very much in that light. My relationship with bodies of code has historically been to do this. I mean, it's what I do professionally as well. And you develop certain skills, almost implicit skills, that enable you to do this. I'm interested... I don't know. I mean, I may have the time to help Bob with Monkey Mind. And my hope is I will actually probably have the time to help Bob with Monkey Mind. But I see there are certain... It interests me, actually, the notion of doing this outside Noble Ape. And there are plenty of artificial life projects that have done this outside of Noble Ape. But there are certain components in Noble Ape that I think are ideally suited for this. In fact, what Bob is talking about in some fundamental level, I've been interested in doing in Noble Ape for some period of time. And my hope is, maybe in parallel to Bob, maybe with his assistance, maybe independently, that I will have a Noble Ape particular perspective on this.
Yeah.
I don't think it's impossible, but there's a lot of additional infrastructure in Noble Ape, which I can see Bob seeing this as possibly retarding his experimentation in the slide. So, my view is I'm perfectly understanding associated with why Bob is doing this.
He wants to do his thing.
Exactly. More power to him.
Yeah.
There is a perception, however, I'm very receptive to the work that Bob has done. But there is a perspective associated with people who've worked closely together around a specific project and then someone going off in another direction, potentially associated, potentially not associated. Honestly, I don't have any of that associated with Bob's efforts. I think there are certainly... He's going to meet some challenges through this process, and these are challenges that I can help him with, if need be. But I also think there's something quite interesting associated with independence in these circumstances too. And I think, as we talked about even 3 or 4 months ago, the potential is always for people who work on Noble Ape to go and create their own monkey projects. A few have. And all the best to him. He's using some of your insights through this as well.
Good. I'd love to. If you're listening, Bob, let's talk.
But yeah, I think it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, if you find anything that I'm talking about potentially applicable in what you're doing, I'm open to talking about it.
I think you and Bob could actually have some quite interesting insights through discussion. And I hope I honestly hope he does.
That'd be fun.
That offer, because I think that would be very interesting and probably quite productive. Of my own use of Noble Ape, certainly we've discussed this briefly previously, but I have an interest in creating an intelligent agent representation that, has abilities basically in kind of communication with existing internet sites that primarily harvest information, and actually creating a kind of curious, I've used the term shim previously, but a kind of curious intermediary between you and these sites.
Yeah.
And I think I've reached out to a fellow who I know is very capable in this light as well. I need a few additional people to kind of round out this team. One of those skills is actually in cryptography. And I have the ability, thankfully, where I work, to work with some amazing cryptography specialists. So my thought is almost to throw them, a couple of $1,000 at some stage. Just have an informal coffee with them, throw some ideas past them, and write them a check. Because I think that's probably what I need in this light. But in terms of server infrastructure and also people that are insightful, there is one fellow who I've worked with previously who I'm looking to engage. The problem with him is that he's independently wealthy, and he's also extremely scatterbrained.
It's just a marketing issue. All you got to do is convince him.
Well, I've offered to buy him lunch, and we were supposed to meet twice over the past 2 weeks, but for whatever reason, I think he was sick the first time, and this time he just kind of drops off communication.
He didn't even call? He just didn't show?
No, we didn't actually get to that point. He wanted to do Wednesday, and I said I was only open on Thursday, and then I didn't get any more correspondence from him.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to a lunch with a group of his buddies next week, so maybe something might come of the general discussion. Yeah. But yeah, there are a few pieces that are missing. I can kind of scrounge through them myself, but the ability to have access to highly skilled professionals is actually quite useful here.
Yeah, that's why you need a lot of money.
No,
money can be money is very useful.
Money's useful, but professional respect. You see, my experience, this is funny actually, we were driving somewhere and my spiritual advisor said to me, how did you actually live when you were here last time? And I said, you can't believe how easy it was because people would come to me. It was a strange period of my life because I had this article syndicated and people would come to me.
And offer you money.
Yes.
What a deal.
Or just be interested in my insights.
Yeah.
Scary stuff for the monkey mind, Heron.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's precisely part of what I'm going through. The same thing is after having studied for so many years to start putting stuff out and getting responses from people saying thank you. And seeing that it actually might be useful. That's humbling in some ways.
Yes. Interesting times, sir. Interesting times. Let's take a listener question or two. Our mutual friend Andrew wants to just raise a topic with us. The notion of education in the cloud. Should I start or will you?
Well, I'm going to start. Because I think the cloud is just another marketing issue. I mean, where the data is irrelevant now. The important thing is that we've got access to all the fucking data we could ever possibly have. It costs something if you want to get fancy with it. You can do it for free if you're, if you need to. But basically, so what? It's what's different than when I bought my first Mac and and had everything on 400K floppy disks. It's the same thing. It's just bigger. It's as big as it's going to get now.
Oh, I think it can get bigger.
How?
I think it can get a lot bigger.
How? Well, the connections, yeah, right. Really, all the movie, like all Netflix ought to be just there for everybody. All the music ought to just be there for everybody. There are a lot of barriers that are still need to be broken down.
Yeah, all the music is all the music is probably a subset of all the movies.
Well, everything,
Yeah.
all information, all digital information should be available, except if I do something and choose not to put it out there and make it available, then that's my right. But
we're almost there with music.
We're getting there. Well, again, see, it's part of a deeper system. It really is capitalism. You can talk about these separate industries. It's about capitalism as a major thinking principle for organizing human behavior. It's just not a good idea.
Yeah. The thing that interests me, I certainly ride the shtick, at least associated with this stuff that I do in Squish. In fact, I'm having a second one. October 28th, I think, is when Bruce Damer and Eric Davis and I are going to get together at Netflix to...
Bruce Davis is really...
Bruce Damer.
Bruce Damer is actually going to show up?
Fuck no. I don't know. Who knows?
Anyway, he said he is, so far.
Yeah, he's made a commitment. So I'm actually...
Okay, well...
I have to find two understudies because both of them have said, but contact us a week or two before just to confirm. But yeah, I'm running with the fact that they're going to be there, I'm going to...
they want to make sure you don't forget.
No, I'm not going to forget. Believe me.
No, but they don't know. But I mean, they have to do that too.
Yeah,
that's sensible for them.
Yeah. So I'm having two understudies as well, with the view that probably neither of them will show.
Yeah. I really don't get this cloud stuff. I mean, what's changed?
Well, people such as Alistair KMO would want to say that the cloud is a particular kind of private branding for something. And my view is that actually the cloud, relatively rapidly, although these things have not occurred yet, this is my only aspect of techno-utopianism, folks, that basically eventually we will all have machines, which we kind of almost do.
We already do now. Anyone who needs one.
No, but my point is that we can then put them together in some kind of organized network that we can then cross-utilize.
Yeah, right. Yes, we have all that compute. Most computers are sitting there doing nothing.
Mm.
All that computing power is just sitting there while other people are starved for it. It's just ridiculous.
Yes. Although I find running Noble Ape in particular that when I have multiple computers, or even one computer that's seriously running Noble Ape, it's not a particularly pleasant experience. It utilizes as much of the processor as possible. I have a little Mac Mini that I get to run Noble Ape maybe 2 hours a night running in parallel. It gets pretty hot. I need to basically re-energize, put fans through and things like that. So when computers are heavily utilized, they're not particularly humanly compatible. They need to be in another area.
We're developing a global network, the brain, whatever you want. We're all going to plug into it. Where the data is, who gives a flying fuck?
Yeah.
As long as I get access to it and I can keep my stuff out of it if I want to, then it would seem to me that that's the best of all possible worlds.
Yeah. And here I'm going to talk specifically to Andrew. I'd like more questions from you. I think...
What was the question we just answered?
Education in the cloud. It wasn't even a question.
We didn't even talk about education. We were just talking about the cloud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, education in the cloud. Well, clearly, given everything we just said, a global network of information available to anybody who plugs in at any point, that can obviously be quite useful in education, couldn't it?
Yeah, but I think, some of my greatest educational insights have been fundamentally disconnected. Truth be told, a vast majority of them have been connected. But actually going away from the cloud and pondering as a kind of independent entity is oftentimes useful as well.
Oh yeah. The matrix, this world that we're in right now, is part of the worlds we live in. Yeah. So
a little footnote to that, but also relating to my, I don't know what one would call it, my detoxification, addiction therapy associated with my bibliophile past. I've finally gone through all my boxes of books. In fact, it happened earlier than expected. I got to a bunch of what I thought were boxes of books, and they actually turned out to be my vinyl albums, which I put back in storage. But we also found some of my wife's
You're not going to get rid of those.
I'm probably... The astonishing thing that I found, I pulled them all out and divided them. I have like 3 or 4 copies of some albums. I mean, I was a DJ, so I did have some benefit in having duplicate copies. But the thing that strikes me really strange is relatively obscure albums. Like, for example, Dire Straits' Brothers in Arms. I have like 4 copies of that record. I must have purchased them periodically, and some of them can, truth be told, the ones that I have multiple copies of.
Bad memory. So like, you just kept buying them and forgot that you already had them.
Well, things like King Crimson and Brothers in Arms and Joe Cocker and various Beatles records and various John Lennon records, these kind of things that I have multiples of, because both my parents gave me theirs and I'd already purchased my own as well. Yeah. So I think my record collection is... Actually, I downsized it considerably. I downsized it when we left the UK and I downsized it when we left Vegas.
I've got about, I think, 6 or 7 LPs left.
Are they spoken word or are they music? They're Frank Zappa, aren't they?
Several of them are. The very first one, Freak Out.
Yeah.
The very first one, that double... God.
I need a rim shot. I really need a rim shot in these circumstances.
Frank Zappa.
So I thought we could round out this conversation. And round out we must, as I have both an early morning start and I'm also talking to a room full of model railroaders first thing on Sunday, so I really need all possible beauty sleep up until that point of time. Comes from our friend Motts.
What about Maria? I thought we were going to end the show with...
No, we busted out the Marie Camacho parents' erection stuff.
Okay. I thought maybe there was another one.
No, we were going to do that later, but you just sailed straight into your own erection there, Heron. Moving on, Motts. If ever we wanted someone who could give us brief and concise questions, Motts takes the cake. This is 4 paragraphs, Heron. I'm going to read it. I might read it multiple times.
Well, he's a German.
Yes. Motts, we're satirizing to try and help you here, but let's continue. I'll take a deep breath. Last time, Tom...
And you know, we should take this as an exercise and see if we can whittle it down to 2 sentences.
No. Let me just read it to you, Heron. I don't want to whittle anything. I just want to read it so we can move on from it.
Why don't you paste it in the text also so I can follow along with you? That would be much more helpful.
Why don't you read it, Heron?
No, I'm a terrible reader.
Okay.
You're a good reader.
Ta-da!
Oh, Jesus Christ! It's a fucking essay. Okay.
Let me do this thing.
Okay. This is a question? Oh, that's right. There's a question mark down there at the end. Okay. I see it.
Okay. We got to do this thing, Heron. I've got to get in here for the listeners. This is for the listeners. Last time, Tom mentioned a difference between his and Heron's thinking. While Heron is willing to consider a direction or even a plan as expressed by the caterpillar-butterfly metaphor, Tom is seeing these times as directionless, and that there could be many missteps in the transition which could lead to many different outcomes.
And I would question the word transition there for your position, because that's not even part of your vocabulary.
Exactly. Moving on.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, this is Motts here, I see that Tom's view would be the more rational one. Don't expect that you have no way of knowing. Sorry, did I make a mistake?
Yeah. Don't expect what you have no way of knowing.
However, you want to continue?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
God, please. You're doing great. I'll shut up.
However, for myself, I repeatedly choose to view these things in the caterpillar-butterfly way, although I make the point of not believing it. Basically because that is something that motivates me, it gives me drive, as I don't think poor little me can't make a difference anyway, so why bother? But rather that I can even see my little actions as parts of something much greater, which is already going on. We're not doing it, it is doing us, roughly speaking. I wonder if Tom doesn't find Tom's outlook somewhat depressing. Following events today, locally and globally, almost every aspect of human endeavour seems to wind itself down, while at the same time most people seem to be blind to it and make decisions which will wind them down even faster, for example, in elections. So what is it? Are you just hoping that it won't get really bad in your lifetime, how much hope do you have that we can make it? And if applicable, where do you get that hope from? Okay, so this is a question to me.
Yeah, it sure is.
My view is that this is the whole distinction between nature-nurture, where I point out that self-motivation and luck are factors that I view as well. I think I'm relatively self-motivated, but I'm also currently extraordinarily lucky. And luck to me seems to be such a scarce commodity, such a rare commodity in the universe, that I have to utilize this luck to something. And if that motivates myself, that is completely independently removed from the universe, fundamentally, from everything that is going on. In fact, sometimes it's almost like either I am standing still or time is standing still in contrast to these things. So my view is that I need to, independently of whatever else is going on, self-motivate, which is completely independent of anything that is going on externally, moving towards anything. In fact, every observation I can find, being a simple monkey in a simulation, seems to indicate that if I have any view of the outside world moving towards anything, this is usually the time that the outside world kind of slaps me upside the head, fundamentally. So I'm relatively externally cynical, but within myself, I feel it's almost non-ecumenically sinful, like there's something fundamentally wrong with not utilizing the immense luck that I've had to try to motivate something. And this might be something that just amuses myself, but certainly, and I'm going to try and convey this to an audience of model railroaders on Sunday morning, the ability to talk to people and the ability for people like this fellow Sean in the UK to email me extensively about how the work that I have done has made his life better is something that I have to reflect upon in a positive light, but really it's merely feedback that I'm actually able to utilize the luck that I've had, that I've doubled down on the luck and a little bit more has come my way. It can all be removed instantly. I've had periods of time in my life where I've been completely financially and geographically isolated. I've had periods of time in my life where I've lived in circumstances around... I mean, when I left the US and moved into the YMCA in Leicester, the fellow next to me who was about to be deported would come home at, 12:30 at night and beat his wife before he went to bed, which I would hear through thin walls. On the other side, there was some kind of skater kid who would listen to Tupac Shakur, who, out of the genre of rap music I have the least time for, at 3 or 4 a.m., I had fleas eat through...
Oh, man. No, you don't get any lower than that.
I had fleas eat through my big toe. I have a wraparound ring-like scar around my big toe where the fleas basically ate through. I could see the bone in certain places. I mean, the experience that I had at the YMCA in Leicester, and this is a small part of my life.
See, this is just fucking shameful. This is just ridiculous.
So, having to live now and do what I do, to be paid the sums that I am paid, to have these kind of experiences, all to me seems to be blind luck.
It is. You're right. You're right. Just in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially with you behind the wheel.
Exactly. So this nature of any external thing, and I think really I've seen it experientially more than anything, that I really, in terms of not just people, but environments and narratives and all these kind of things, when you start getting intoxicated with the potential that things externally can start improving and change, that's usually, through my life experience, when the hard floor has been there to, hit me in the head.
Yeah.
So,
you got to remember that.
Exactly.
That's exactly the point. That'll put it off a little bit longer.
Yes. I mean, truth be told, when I lived in this country in 2000, that actually happened to me. I collapsed on the street. The footpath did hit me in the head, fundamentally, and I realized that was a point of complete reevaluation associated with everything. I think the interesting thing that strikes me is my motivation through this is fundamentally intellectual on some level. It doesn't exist in terms of my physical body. It doesn't exist in things, but I can motivate through very curious means, and this has worked in my career as well, find niches, exploit those niches, and work through them, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's a survival mechanism more than anything. I don't think it's, you know,
Well, there are a lot of people. There's 7 billion people here. Lots of different skill sets. You've got yours.
Yeah.
You know, lots of ranges of possibilities here for humans, and you've got your peculiar little mix.
So to Mott's,
the question is to figure out what are you going to do with it.
Well, my point to Mott's is we all have these things that we may not have access to them, but we need to start exploring that. And that is independent of any scheme of humanity or the president or, you know, or the organized movement or the Occupy movement or all these kind of groups. You need to have some degree of self-motivation through this, because when you get handed even a small amount of luck, you've got to be able to utilize it to the best of your ability and not squander it.
There's that, you know, well, we're talking about luck now in terms of survival. In a sense, the world I'm working for would eliminate luck on that level. Survival wouldn't be a matter of luck.
Yes.
That would be a given.
Yes.
The luck would involve your development as a conscious entity in the universe.
Yeah. So I think
that's a big difference, though, isn't it?
I think I've answered Mott's question. It's interesting, actually, because I do find myself, I have a brain chemistry, both biologically and also through environment, which would be very naturally suited to depression. To depression.
Oh, okay.
And I've talked about my small experience learning from low-dose antidepressants when I lived in the UK. I do have times where I wonder what it would be like if I took antidepressants at various points.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think once you have the cognitive fortitude to a certain extent to understand how you can change your own behaviors in a way which affect you, similar to the chemicals that you...
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's a really serious issue, this whole thing between, you know, how much of it is, you know, brain chemistry and how much of it is ways of thinking.
Yes.
You know, that lead to dysfunctional behavior. And it's clearly, we're beginning at least to weed that out. For a while there, they thought it was all just give them the right chemical, they'll be okay. And that is right for some people, but there are a whole bunch of other people that doesn't work for.
Well, so. I mean, I have an interesting relationship to that. And I think, in general, the root causes of depression in most circumstances do have things that can be affected both by individuals and also groups. But the chemistry is there too. It's not an either or in any way, shape or form. Mott's, you've concluded the questions I have for this evening. Heron, do you have anything that you want to add? Any other topic?
Well, I would like to talk more about this topic, actually, although it wasn't addressed to me. The general idea of a point of view about reality, the big picture, the caterpillar butterfly model, if you will, is as an example of one of those. Strikes me as something that's really important. I'm not quite sure how to justify saying that, but it seems that on some level, if you're going to have a unified planet, there has to be a kind of unified story. And again, you don't have to actually believe the story. You just have to understand the story.
Yeah.
And be a part of the story.
I'm fundamentally post-Stonian on this view. I think the story seems to be the root narrative of the language monkey, which seems to be something that you've worked in part to distance yourself from, and yet you are still fundamentally caught up in kind of language monkey style problems, and the story.
Well, you may be right. It may not be necessary. There may be, but yeah, it may hinge on this realization that the voice is not. Maybe if everybody really understood that the voice is not who we are, that things would just somehow miraculously take care of themselves. That's always possible.
I mean, my view is that the story is just an extension of the voice.
Well, the story is the voice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
but
just...
the story is you described as a need, and here you may have to rewind.
No, I don't see it as a... Well, in our culture, it is a need. Yeah, no, I would say you're right. We do need a story now because of the kind of culture we live in. Living as a hunter, even living as a hunter-gatherer required a story. but the stories we require now are a little more sophisticated than our hunter-gatherers use.
Yeah, I mean, going to Africa and shooting a lion needs a story.
Oh, yeah, and they've got one. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that fits right into their story.
Yeah. It's a complete self-justifying.
Yeah. Look at this, man. This is what I worked so hard for.
Yep.
So I could come out here and kill this old floppy lion.
Yeah.
God, it's just so bizarre.
Yes. It's really why I don't read fiction.
No, there's no need to read.
There's no need to read fiction.
No.
You can't.
Well, I do read some fiction. You know, have you read any Stanislaw Lem?
I think I did when I was like 15.
Oh man, he's one of my favorites. I love reading Stanislaw Lem. I've got so many books now. You know, with ebooks, it's just crazy. I've got like
you've moved your bibliophile addiction digital.
Yeah, I've got like 4,000 books.
Oh my goodness!
You know, on my iPad. You know, yeah, right. I read like 3 a year. You know, I don't even know what's on there. I got this whole thing of do-it-yourself stuff. This whole library. If I ever want to actually do something myself, I've got a book that'll tell me how to do it. That's not. See, that's the thing is, does it make any difference whether it's here or it's in the cloud? Well, yeah, it does make a difference. It'd be better if I didn't have to worry about it on my iPad and its memory constraints. Yeah, but that's what the cloud should do. It should end the consideration of memory constraints.
Well, that's the point that I've made to my colleagues in particular. Because basically, the first companies to be damaged by the cloud were hard disk companies. Because the whole notion of you having a hard disk anymore is kind of removed from the cloud.
Yeah, right, that's right.
So the hard disk companies flocked to try and sell hard disks to cloud companies, and that in and of itself, the cloud companies were able to weed out most of the hard disk companies.
Yeah. Yeah, and now, of course, it's all going to SSDs, so boy, the price has still got to come a long way down on that.
It's interesting, actually, because we tend to end with this kind of technical wrapping sessions, but I will conclude with this point. For the past 3 months, I've been working on Apple TV primarily, but also some components of iOS. And now almost all of this has been released. There's still a bunch of it that's going to be coming out soon. But it is really interesting that I can now point to things that I've worked on and say, this has justified me losing a summer, ladies and gentlemen. Not just me, a wide variety of people I know and have a lot of
there's a whole bunch of people, a whole team of people. Yeah, you can't.
Huge number. Surprisingly large. It is actually really interesting because you realize, and this is something I've always known and strongly advocated for even in our discussion, that the engineering brilliance of these companies is not by their CEOs. It's by tens, if not hundreds, of individuals that come in, stay late, and just develop this stuff.
Well, it's about people who hired them and know how to manage them and not get in the way, too.
Ah, yes, that's part of it.
No, that's part of it. It's right, all part of it.
It's about channeling.
It's about organization. Energy. It's about how do you get people together to get stuff done efficiently.
Yeah, no guns.
Yeah, with no guns, right? No guns. Yeah, guns would make some things a lot simpler, but it's just not the way I want to do it.
Yeah, I don't think any of the stuff.
And you wouldn't get the same quality of work.
No. What if the iPhone had been designed, with guns?
Well, to read some of the Apple haters, you'd think that was what was happening in China.
Yeah. It is. I don't think we'll ever know what's happening in China, Heron.
No. We don't even know what the hell's going on here. How the hell could we know what's going on
some
there?
Of the documentaries I've seen have been really strange. The fact that they live in these kind of factory-like caves where they come in and they work. But, seeing just the fact that we go to slightly larger caves and these kind of things, I don't see there's much distinction aside from...
No, it's their reality.
Yeah. It's
not our reality. Yeah. 200 years ago, our reality was real different here, too.
Yeah.
Damn
skiffy.
So, we go around to these other countries, all this child labor stuff, and for them, it's a good deal, or they wouldn't be doing it. I mean, you can look at it a lot of different ways, but those people are actually using that money to make their lives somewhat better. I mean, in some ways, at least they think they are.
And to our listening audience, if you don't mention Heron's genitals and if you write questions that are relatively grammatically correct, we can address these concerns that you may have in a future Stone Ape recording. This, I think, has been the most, just in terms of raw text, volume of listener-submitted questions that we've received so far.
Yeah, that's great. That was fun.
Yeah, and I'd like to do it again next week. So listeners, listen to this audio, think.
That's right. If you don't like this podcast, it's your own goddamn fault.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to make it any good is something for us to talk about that you find interesting.
Yes. And potentially occasional nail bombs. But aside from that.
So it's all on you. This will go depending upon how you guys choose to go it.
Yeah. Damn Skippy.
That sounds like you were wrapping this up.
Yeah, I could take it for another hour, but really I've just got to conserve. I've got 5 hours plus of model rail radio and then an hour plus of railroading folk and my spiritual advisor and all this kind of stuff.
Have you put iOS 7 on your iPad yet?
Heron?
Yeah.
I've had it on my iPad for like 4 months.
Okay, but all right. Okay, thank you. That was all.
I'm looking forward to 9 currently. 8, screw it. I want 9.
Yeah. Well, I just ordered my iPhone.
Ah.
So it'll be.
Did you go for gold, Heron?
No, I went for the black.
Yeah, it's technically, I think it's slightly darker than gunmetal grey, but it's not black.
Well, anyway, the one with the black face.
Yeah, I saw my first 2 today, and I thought this looks just like a 5. I mean, the physical.
Well, yeah, it is. That would be one reason to get a gold, so everybody will know you've got a new one.
Yes, bling.
And they do kind of look cool. I kind of like them, but
until I see them there was the same thing with Google Glass. I mean, I was clear that people would look like they masturbated all the time if they were wearing Google Glass, and when I saw one in the wild, it just confirmed that. But you need to actually see one of these things in the wild before you understand it. Google, the whole notion of the fact that they stopped... We are banning pornography on the glass. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another Stone Ape recording. We didn't get any email or any correspondence associated with the Stone Ape being the evolution of the language monkey. Clearly, this was a topic that fell flat on its face from our last
I don't even remember that. What the hell was that about? I got you. Yeah, now I remember it. No, now I remember it. Yeah, you're right. That's a dumb idea.
The way to submit questions are either via email to me or via the Facebook group, folks. They're the two. People can find me on YouTube and various other places, but we have pretty heavily embodied the general discussion associated with Stone Ape through the Facebook group, although vastly, as with the phenomenon with Model Rail Radio, vastly fewer listeners actually contribute questions to the recording. So hit me up on email as well. Joe the drummer.
Yeah, what happened to him? He didn't have anything this week.
Look, they talk to you, they blow their load, they clear out. That's the simple fact.
Maybe that's it. That's right. I answered all his questions. He's now in bliss and has no point in wasting his time listening to this drivel.
Yeah, he tweeted.
I don't blame him. I don't listen to this shit.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm done. Out. Well, Aaron, it's been a pleasure as always.
It has?
Look forward to chatting next week, if we're both here still.
Okay, bye.
Good night.